the road, but 2023 is shaping up to be an unbelievable year for concerts. I'm putting so many shows. I'm going to be spending so much money on tickets this year. Mastodon and Gojira have announced that they're going to go back on the road. They're going to do 35 cities, including Cleveland. With Lorna Shore with them, if you're into Lorna Shore. Not one of my faves, but Mastodon.
Lorna Doone guy over here.
I was going to say, I mean, it's timeless. They'll kick off mid-April, and they will go to the front of September. If you dig either Mastodon or Gojira. Both of them are 800-pound gorillas in their own right, so they're going to alternate closing sets each night. These go on sale, what's today, the 17th? I'm all thrown off. They go on sale Friday at 10 a.m. They will play Jacobs Pavilion on August the 10th here in Cleveland. But they'll do Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Toronto, as far as regional shows go. So that is a huge, huge tour. That's great. That's awesome if you're a fan of either one of those bands.
I haven't seen Mastodon live, but Gojira puts on a hell of a show. They light their own people on fire. It's crazy.
You'll never see that at another show. Yeah. Set that guy on fire. Have him stand in front of the... Yeah, that was at Sonic Terror. Rock on the Range, I guess it still was then. That was years ago.
I think it was Sonic Temple that
was
year.
it?
I think that was the first
Sonic
year
Temple?
of Sonic Temple, yeah.
And then I saw Gojira at the Agora, I think when concerts were just coming back. Mastodon I haven't seen in a long, long time. So that'll be great. So anyway, just that info for you. Cavs win yesterday here at home against the Pelicans. Was that a late rally? Did they come back and win that?
Yeah, they came back and won that one.
113-103. They will be in Memphis tomorrow night to play the Grizzlies. That is an 8 o'clock tip-off here on MMS, and you can also listen on the iHeartRadio app, of course, and leave us messages there anytime you like.
Hey, Alan, you son of a bitch. Where were you today? I have to listen to repeats from, August. Why you gotta do me dirty like that? So dirty.
I don't know who that is, but she knows what she's doing to me with that, right? She knows full well what she's doing to me. Is that the girl that used to call? God, who was the girl that used to call and she would say she was Ernestine or something?
Genevieve.
Genevieve.
Yeah.
That's Genevieve, right?
I don't think that's Genevieve.
Boy, that sounds
Sounded
very,
like
very
her.
similar. Yeah, just putting on like a different breathier voice. But we were out for there was a Cavs game yesterday.
There's a Cavs game. It was Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We were going to be out anyway because it's a company holiday.
Martin Luther King Jr.
It was a travel day for me. Got to sit next to a dog on a flight, which was actually very nice because it meant that the dog just laid on the ground, and I got to not have to share a row with anybody, really.
Dog on the plane.
Dog on the plane. Well, it was a lady and her dog, so then the middle seat stayed open, and it was Southwest, so it's, you know how they do it, where it's just like, get on the plane, get a seat, fight for the death.
That's
do what
right.
you gotta do.
It's like Battle Royale in
but,
the aisles.
But it meant I got the very first seat in the plane because I didn't care if I was sitting next to a dog, even if he was sitting up like a human in the chair.
He was sitting back on his haunches.
I wish.
Did they strap him in?
No, he was just laying down because there's a lot of room there. So he was just laying down in front of his lady that he was with, and I was the first one off the plane, and that's never happened before. Being the first one off the plane makes you feel like the fanciest person ever.
Being the first person off the plane is good.
Yeah, even when you're flying Southwest, which they don't even have first class or anything like that.
So Southwest got their stuff together, I'm assuming?
No.
I mean, enough for me to get to and from my shows, but
they haven't fixed anything big picture.
No.
But the shows were fun in Sacramento. A couple customers said, "What's up?" And on Saturday, on the early show, after I get off stage, I'm walking back to the green room, and this lady starts following me, and the security stops her, and they're like, "You can't come back here." And she's like, "No, I know him. He doesn't know I know him, but he will in a second."
Meaning you.
Yeah. And these are her words. He doesn't know I know him, but he will in a second. And I'm like, that's
ominous.
She's your baby mama.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes, "My name's Teresa. We went to Sydney Fenn together." And I was like, "Oh,
What's a
I remember
Sydney
her.
Fenn?
That's my elementary school."
Oh, my goodness.
So she didn't know I was going to be there. She was just at the show.
Yeah.
And she knew that I was doing comedy, and she follows me on social media. And so she's like, "I think that's Bill." And then I said where I was from. And she's like, like started cheering real loud and stuff like that. I'm like, hey, somebody else from Ohio, but I don't like follow up with that because I don't want to do crowd work in front of Chad and burn that stuff. So I just kind of go into my set. But after the show, she comes up and she's like, yeah, I had no idea. It was amazing. She's like, I did unfollow you on social media for something offensive you said, but I don't remember what it was. I was
Check
probably
out.
drunk, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, well, thank you so much. And she invited me to go to brunch at her house the next day. And so I didn't because
Good.
that would be weird. But,
Why?
well,
Go to people's houses.
I don't wanna go
Why
to
not
people's houses.
reconnect somebody that you haven't seen in 25 years?
Nah.
It's for a
more
reason.
than that.
30
40
years,
30 years
35
now.
years.
Yeah. It's
Come
been
on.
a long time, and
rekindle.
And she's not somebody that I remember that well anyway.
So you're saying she was
I'd be
ugly?
like, no, she was actually very, very pretty.
Well, then what's the problem?
You don't
I
want to
just
eat at
didn't-
a stranger's
I don't
house.
want to go to her house.
Huh.
And
Oh, you got a girlfriend, too.
I got a girlfriend, and it's also
No girlfriend, though. You don't go to her house?
She has a boyfriend too that was there with her.
That's what
Yeah.
it was. If she were single, good looking, you go, yeah, hell yeah, I'll come
She's
over
got
for
a
brunch.
cool job though. She's
Got mimosas?
she's working on a campaign to get MDMA legalized in California. It's like, oh,
Yeah, don't go to that
yeah.
person's house.
No, she's very like put
Why?
together though.
She might have used him for an experiment.
Right.
Now, that would be a story.
Put
She's not
drugs
what
in
you're
your
thinking.
oatmeal.
You're telling me a story about a girl whose house you didn't go to.
She's like on the corporate side of it though. She's not taking MDMA.
Yeah.
She just works for a.
You
Oh,
don't know
wait.
what she's doing.
I mean, she might be taking it a little bit, but I don't think she wasn't.
she wasn't
was-
tripping
was
when
just
she
drunk.
talked to you.
She was just drunk on Saturday, so I
Yeah.
don't know. But it was just very funny how she just came tearing back there, and she said, "You don't know me yet, but you will." And I was like, "What does that mean?" That was a little bit frightening. And then it was just somebody that went to elementary school with, and then
But you didn't remember her from elementary school.
I do remember her.
You do.
When she said her name, I remember exactly who she
I
is.
see.
Like, we were friends, but we weren't like hang out and keep in touch friends. It was just we were in the same class a few different times over the years from elementary school to like 6th grade.
Wow.
And then in 6th grade, I think she started going to a private school, and we lost contact then.
She didn't want to hang with the public school kids any longer.
I mean, who would?
I wonder if I read a lot of kids from my elementary school died, so I wonder like if I wonder who
Yeah,
like
but
who
probably
I'd-
not the majority.
I like not the majority, but some of them died like when we were little, and then some died along the way. I wonder if somebody came out to me like, "Hey, I went to school with you," because somebody posted like our 2nd grade photo or something like that. I was like, "Oh my god!" Like I had forgotten all these kids that I went to school with, but I knew from the jump, like a bunch of these people are dead.
When you
And-
say a bunch, like 3 or like 10?
Like a dozen.
Why do you? There's a lot of death in your life.
I
I
didn't kill them, if
Angel
that's
of
what
No,
you're
no, no.
asking.
I'm saying like I didn't experience death of a friend or like anything like that until my first friend who died. I was already in college.
Oh, I grew up going to
No.
funerals.
Like I didn't. Nobody
grew
that
up-
I knew died ever.
I grew up going to funerals. Yeah.
One of my friends in my school, he got hit by a car, and this was freshman year.
That's still. I mean, Alan's talking about 2nd graders though,
Yeah.
8-year-olds.
We had Susie
Well, it was
Luther.
back then, you know. They didn't have,
Dysentery.
yeah.
They
They
got
just
some.
didn't have the same advancements that we have.
Antibiotics
now.
weren't around.
There were a
yet.
lot of cannonball injuries at my school.
I mean, even the water back then was probably not even safe
mostly
to drink.
lead. Honestly.
No, they were
Yeah.
using rusty hacksaws for surgery and stuff. No, Susie Luther died when we were in the 1st grade because she had an enlarged heart.
Oh no.
And then Jeremy, he died from something else. Some of them lived longer than that, but they died like getting into trouble when they were older. And I just heard of somebody not long ago who died. And only a few of these people surprised me, actually, because as they got older, I was like, oh, something bad's going to happen. to
Right.
that dude.
Everyone I've heard that has passed away for the most part since I got out of high school is someone that you're like, oh, that makes sense because they were already deep into drugs in like middle school.
Yeah.
So you're just like, it's a bummer,
Yeah.
but you're not really surprised by it.
So, so you didn't go back to her house.
Didn't go back to her house, but it was a great weekend too. And then a lot of people after the show were very kind. And you know, I told the story about my son coming out to me as trans, and so many people just came up and just they're like, thank you for making this a fun, wholesome story that, is funny. And there was one guy in particular that it really hit home with, and he kind of gave off douchebag vibes when you saw him walk in, because him and his friend were wearing matching tiger tracksuits. They had like tigers all over them, like they were in the jungle.
Yeah.
And then on the way out, he comes up and he's like, my girlfriend's son is trans, and that story it hit me, and like he just gave me this big hug while tears were welling up in his eyes. So like it was a really great weekend overall.
It would be great if you would have been like, bro, get off me. And
Yeah.
just pushed him
I'm
away.
pro-trans, not pro-gay. Get off.
Come on. I wanted to hug your friend in the tracksuit, not you.
Mm.
It comes off weird on you. Get over here. Give me a hug.
That's a weird move too, though, to go anywhere wearing matching tracksuits.
I'd do it. I don't care.
That's a flex.
You'd wear matching tracksuits?
Sure.
Do they
I'm
sell them at
exploring a
Torrid?
new option. All right. Okay, you're right.
Hey, Mike, hello.
Hey, Alan, love the show.
Thank you, sir.
And then you guys were talking about friends dying, and Poundcake said he had a friend that got hit by a car.
Yeah.
When we were 15, I had a friend of mine that got kidnapped and killed because he was stealing guns.
That'll
And
do
he
it.
Was telling on the people, the adults that were in it. And then I got caught up with those same kind of people, and I still to this day have never said who I was with.
It's ironic that you're stealing guns, which are first and foremost.
I
you
wasn't
just
stealing
no,
guns.
your
I was
friend.
caught up with the same. Oh yeah, he was caught up. He had a system. He had a place where people could steal guns and hide them.
Yeah, and he didn't have any of them to protect him once they kidnapped him and then subsequently killed him. That's
No,
really the biggest
not
irony
at
of,
all.
yeah.
Actually, they were going to send him to Columbus, a youth prison, and he started snitching, and then he disappeared.
Oh, he's a rat. Yeah. Well, they probably black bagged him, and yeah.
No, they did worse. than
Those
that.
Columbus
They
youth,
did worse.
they spread parts of him all throughout Ohio, probably, Mike.
They just left him in Nelson Ledges Quarry Park.
Oh boy. All right. Well, thank you,
So-
Mike. I feel
Man,
like
just
more things are being divulged here than I'm comfortable airing. So
Yeah, mine. Yeah,
yeah.
mine was really sad. He was a good guy.
Yeah. No, listen. I've had
It
friends die all the way through.
It just makes me. That stuff just makes me
Glad we're not friends.
realize that life just isn't fair. Because I look at people, I'm like, they were way better people than I was, and their life got cut short.
How do you know that?
I mean, I don't, but I just think they do. They're more well liked. They're smarter.
Wait, they were better people because more people liked them in your eyes?
Yeah, in
But
my eyes.
that was the measure of how good of a person they were, is that they were well liked.
Yes.
Huh.
In my high school years, yes, that's what it was.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fine. I was just curious if that's where you were coming from.
Yes, that's what I thought back then. They were well liked. Everyone wanted to be their friend, and they're intelligent.
Mhm.
And yeah, they had.
And they
more,
were cut short in their prime.
I felt like they had more to offer the world than I did.
Well, maybe you're right. But you have to live on in their memory. You have to take that mantle. If you truly feel that way, take that mantle and carry on whatever their mission was. Whatever good you think they were putting into the world, as a friend, that has now fallen to you.
Okay. Yeah. I do. This was,
Okay.
I mean, it was like
Yeah.
10th or 11th. It was like, I knew I was driving because I drove to the funeral. So it was like either like 10th grade or 11th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell Bill that the Chargers are just going to disappoint him too, so he might as well be disappointed by his hometown team, and he should come back to the Browns.
How about those Chargers?
Well,
sucked.
it did suck. And I was talking. So another friend of mine started cheering for the Jaguars when the Browns.
When Urban
signed-
Meyer was coaching them?
No, this
This year.
this year when the Browns signed Watson, he's like, okay, I'm going to be a Jaguars fan now, and I'm Chargers fan now. So we were talking all sorts of smack to each other because we don't know anybody else that cheers for these teams, and going back and forth. And the Chargers go up 27-0, and I'm just, and he's doing shows with Mary, and I'm just berating him, just hitting him with like text after text of like they suck, blah blah blah, and we're being silly about it. We're not like actually. we say really ridiculous things. And then as we get closer to showtime at my shows, as I'm about to walk on stage, or no, as I walk off stage, I get on, check the score, and they just kicked that field goal to win the game. And I'm like, God damn it. And within a second, my buddy texts me, he's like, how'd that feel? Piece of trash.
I thought Trevor Lawrence was like a big deal, though, right? I mean,
He is a big deal. Yeah. He had a really rough first season, and then a much better second season. And Doug Peterson's a very good coach.
Well, listen, the rumors around Chicago is that with the Bears moving out to the suburbs, being dangled a brand new stadium, that another team might want to inhabit Soldier Field. Chicago would eventually end up with 2 NFL teams, and the Jaguars are always in that conversation. Maybe the Chicago Jaguars are imminent.
Maybe.
The largest comeback in NFL history for a team that did not force a single turnover.
Pretty impressive.
Trevor Lawrence and the Jags led a 27-point comeback. I was reading about a guy who bet $1 million on the Chargers winning at halftime, which is a terrible, terrible bet because the odds were so likely that the payout was practically
like nothing. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, boy. But the Jags, I've already been, my strategy of, hey, let's just throw some money at underdogs, so far not paying off.
Not great
for me. But that's the fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fun.
When it does pay off, it pays off big.
And then the Cowboys kicker, he might be out of a gig too, because it's a good thing that game was not contingent on him making these kicks, because he
he missed
missed
4
the
extra
first
points.
Yeah, he went 0 and he went 1 and 5 or something. I don't know. He missed 4 straight extra points last night against Tampa Bay. And usually you don't bet against Tom Brady, but this time if you had done that, you're okay. But if Tom Brady finally decides to retire, this is not the way you want to go out.
No. I'm not going back to the Browns because of Watson. Like, it's not like I gave up on the Browns because they're a disappointing
losing
football team.
Right.
I gave up on the Browns because they traded for somebody that's a sexual predator. So that's why I'm not cheering for the Browns. It has nothing to do. I'm used to the heartbreak. It's the other part that I couldn't stomach.
Sure. You better hope Justin Herbert didn't do anything hinky.
I'll just jump to another
team. You're going to be taking a spin around the league. Alan, you mentioned Mastodon and Gojira. Don't forget Clutch.
Oh, I saw that. I like Clutch.
Clutch is great. They're touring April and May. They're going to play
Agora.
Cleveland on May the 14th, Jacobs Pavilion.
Oh, I thought it was at the Agora.
This says Jacobs Pavilion.
Maybe I'm dumb. That's probably what it is.
Well, maybe there's some incorrect information.
No, it's me.
So May 14th, it's the last few nights. It's like the third to last stop on the tour. So there you go if you're a Clutch fan. Kicks off April 11th in Norfolk, Virginia. I got a break here. If you want to text for anything, 35192. Get me there. I'll have another $1,000 for you to win. Coming up at 3:30. Listen for that keyword to go